Yes, you're right. You're right. And then finally, 30 Days of Night said, just stop talking Star Wars. Find something good to talk about.
Whatever. I'm the foremost expert on Star Wars, and I love it, and it's great, and we're going to talk about it until they kick me off the show, which could happen. Hey, but
All right. You weren't here. You weren't here last week when we talked about episode 7. That's. I mean, this is what I said. I don't know if you watched the episode, but it was like I was with you defending this show all the way until they give us this episode and they show us, like John is saying, and I agree with this. They wrote it where they thought they're making the witches sympathetic, but it was just like, no. Well, all I saw was a bunch of Jedi with screwed up motives, it felt like, and they royally screwed up, and the witches didn't do anything to help the situation. They just kept making it worse and worse and worse. Like no one communicated. It was all action with no words, and I have sympathy for either side, really, in the situation.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, you're at. Why is that bad writing? Why is it? Because did anyone say, House of Dragon has bad writing? No. Well, guess what happened on one of those? 2 families that had land next to each other had a dispute that, where all these stones were that dictated where their lands ended, and they moved them a couple feet. And that somehow escalated into them having this huge fucking battle that killed thousands of people. So why is that bad writing? Because that happened here. We have the Jedi that are looking for virgins, and 2 of those Jedis didn't, address the situation properly because Soul's giving into his emotions, Torben's giving into his emotions. We'll talk about that later. Versus this, cult or whatever, this dark side witches that also have a negative bias toward the Jedi. And look at that, the situation gets fucked up. I don't understand why that's bad writing.
But everybody's what all the dialogue is just so bent towards the plot, and Osha is going back and forth from I'm trading with the Jedi to I don't know,
being
whatever,
emotional
for 17 years,
my teenager,
and then I hate them, and then I don't hate them, and now I hate them again, and now a bare chest. Now I'm a Sith because wow, how sexy. I mean, but even given the hormonal teenager, none of even hormonal teenagers do have reasons for what they do. They're fucked up reasons, but they're still reasons, right? But there's no impetus for anybody to do almost anything that they did, except for with the Jedi in respect to the witches and their actions. But even then, it's like people will go to say something and then not say the thing that would stop the whole situation. Instead, they say they tease around the edges so that the whole plot can continue to happen without the knowledge that you could spout off at any given point, which would nullify the whole thing. I
won't go.
It's life, man.
I won't go as far as John. I do think, though. I'm trying to think how to say this. I don't feel like, given everything we've seen from the Jedi in other canon, and I get it, these are different Jedi, I don't feel like they would just run to action like that. Right?
No, not at least if they're following their protocols.
Right.
But that didn't happen here. Why didn't that happen here? Because you've got 2 people, and I almost maybe want to say this till we talk about the finale, because the finale has something huge in there that is a huge point that a lot of people don't seem to be getting here.
Well,
and these Jedi are not perfect; they're humans, and they do. And so, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you guys watch the clip I sent you with the guy who played the Jar Jar? I can't think of the actor's name.
Oh, that poor guy.
Yeah, I can't. Ahmed something. Because He also played Kelleran Beck in Mandalorian.
He was doing an interview. Now, these are not his words. These are George Lucas's words. And I think this is an important point because it ties, in my opinion, it ties kind of into how people feel about the Acolyte and how people feel about Star Wars in general. George Lucas said, when it comes to the Force, most people get it wrong. Most people's understanding of the Force is wrong, because when he talks about the bringing balance to the Force, he's not talking about Ahmad Best. Thank you, Classic Xbox. He is not talking about a balance between the light side and the dark side. No. The light side is the balanced side. The dark side is chaos. And that's what people don't get. When Anakin is bringing balance to the Force, it's not about, he was bad then good or whatever. It's about defeating the Sith and defeating the dark side, so then everything is imbalanced on the light side.
Instead, he joined them.
Well, yeah, but until the end, he's the one who he's the one that actually kills Palpatine. So he is the one. Yeah, brings the balance to the Force. So I mean, that's an important point. And a lot of people like they're rooting for, and the people who wrote this show, you're rooting for Osha, who at the end of the show becomes a Sith. Well, that's wrong. That's not, because it's like, oh, it's balance. It's like, no, it's like she's evil. And that's why I really hated the show at the end. Is the person that go ahead. The person we're following the whole time at the end decides like, nah, I'm a bad guy. And I'm angry, so now my sword turns red, which is not canon. And
that's not how you bleed a crystal, right?
Really? How do you bleed a crystal?
How long did it take Darth Vader to bleed a crystal?
Right. Why didn't Anakin's crystal turn red when he was killing younglings?
Point me to the How to Bleed Your Sith Crystal manual, and I'll gladly read it. But I don't think it exists.
We're just going by canon, and by canon.
No, you're not. This canon is only 20 years old, by the way, because before that it was synthesized red crystals.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Okay. So the actual instruction of how to bleed a crystal has actually never been written. To this day, it has not been written.
But the thing is,
I know that people point to Anakin, but Anakin's lightsaber was his own. His energy was already in the crystal. You need to take somebody else's crystal and corrupt it. Just like you can be Ahsoka and reverse it and take a corrupted and purify it. Hence why her shit is white. So again, if anybody out there can point me to the manual that I somehow don't know about of exactly how you bleed a crystal and exactly what is, then great. Otherwise, look, we bled a crystal here. She had her master's lightsaber, her master who loved her. She also loved him at some point, but then she ended up killing him because he's the one that killed her mother.
Right. The one who couldn't even grab anything with the Force before and hasn't trained in 6 years can suddenly Force choke somebody out and bleed a crystal in 3 seconds. Sure. Okay.
Yes.
No.
It's Star Wars, dude. We're space wizards, laser swords, fire in space. And that's the thing is people always want to point out how Star Wars isn't like reality. But then when we go to the human side of emotion part of it, it seems to short our circuits out.
But again, if you keep breaking all the rules that came before and breaking them just for the plot, then nothing matters because there are no rules. If there are no rules, the plot doesn't matter.
Both of our viewers have pointed out that crystal bleeding was in the Vader comics by Marvel, and it is shown as like a more ritual setting in the comics, and those comics are canon. So like, it has been done. Yeah, so it has been shown before, and this was that's what I'm saying. Like this was done differently than it's been done before. I mean,
Yep.
Even
was trained Jedi by
unique. No, and I agree with Don too. Like the idea that they've shown people who have the Force can do things in all of the movies. Like, it's not like, oh, you have to be trained. Like, that's a trope that we've fallen into. I don't think it's about training, and that's one of the things they did try to say in the show. It's like the Jedi were training you in a specific way, and it wasn't working, and it's not your fault. It's not that you don't have the ability to do it. It's the Jedi want you to follow their rules, and if you follow those rules, you're not using your full potential. Like, that's what the Smilo Ren says to Osha.
I'm sorry, but like this just breaks so many different things, and it just, again, everything that happens in this happens to further the plot, whether it makes sense or not. And I just cannot get behind this at all. I know you love it, Don, but like,
you don't have to like it.
When the constant excuses, but space wizards, as Classic X Books is saying in our chat, then no, again, if nothing matters, then the plot doesn't matter, because anything can happen at any time, and that means that there are no stakes.
Okay,
and you can't invest in it.
All right.
Remember when Goku was almost about to die, and then he turned Super Saiyan because Krillin died? Well, hey,
right, because he had never felt that kind of rage before, and it's rage that would trigger rage is what was used to trigger the transformation into a Super Saiyan, and Goku
until his child did it at 6 years old for no reason.
Well, that's because he's a human hybrid. Jeez, like there are reasons for all of this. They go into them, but
there's a question for Don, and Thrawn brings up an excellent point. I don't mind the difference. But her acting didn't bring across the proper amount of anger. Right. Like, she really didn't, I didn't get emotion from her in that scene. It was just like, she was just standing there and the crystal turned red. Like, she wasn't seething. She was
surprised.
Right.
It's like, wow, does the emotion of surprise turn a lightsaber red?
Like, even if she just like screamed out in anger, like if Soul had died and then she like stood up and screamed, and while she's screaming it turned red, it would have been like, oh, that works. Like, I
would give it a pass at that point, but
right.
Okay, so I'll answer the question, which I guess I'm not an expert on how, or I guess particular on how I feel one should express their rage. To me personally, while you're choking the guy that you love and who's loved you, try nothing to do other after killing your mother, do nothing to protect you, and you choke the motherfucker to death, you're pretty angry. But sure, if you need yelling or whatever, okay, I have no defense against that if that's your taste. I'm just saying, I could get it. Not everybody does certain things when they're angry.
Okay, explain this to me, Don.
Yeah.
Why did they decide, instead of May running off with them, why did they decide, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to erase your memory back to when you were 6 years old.
Well, that made no sense.
And then we're just going to leave you in this forest.
Okay, why would they?
Why did they do that? What was the plan there?
Hold on. Before Don answers, here's my opinion. They did that to try to set up a season 2. But go ahead, Don.
Exactly. For the plot. No other reason.
Okay, because honestly, Dave, I agree with you. I mean, the only other thing I can tell you is that May just wants to help her sister. She spent all these years thinking she was dead. Here she is alive. She's got this opportunity that they see it. It's a fucked up opportunity. I'm not saying these characters are like righteous at all, or that they're normal or make the decisions that they should be making. They're not, but they are also fucking teenagers. I live with a teenager. They do dumb shit for like no reason. It makes me crazy. So I can't answer for any of that. If that's what you think flawed writing is, okay, I understand. If you think doing things just for the plot, I'll say I'm not sure how you like anime, but okay, you don't like it. I like to sit down and enjoy Star Wars stuff. Dude, I've seen anime stuff where they bring a fucking chalkboard and start drawing shit for you to understand how it works.
But it's
like
it's the same thing. Never mind. Look, okay, how about this?
But
Vernestra goes. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Vanessa, I hate that. I hate her. She's the villain of the.
Okay,
you think there was going to be a big? You think Plagueis would be like the villain, but you're like, oh, cool, Plagueis, and then the Jedi are the shits.
At best, Plagueis should have been in his teens when this happened, but of course he's some kind of Smeagol troglodyte in a cave somehow.
He was doing the Gollum one day. He was.
Yeah, they're again. They're just messing with canon, with timelines and people's and when people are alive and when these things are happening. But okay, Vernestra goes in front of the Council of Lies.
Where is the thing that says this is where This is how old Plagueis was? Like,
so
where is that?
So Vernestra goes to the Council and lies to them, and then in the end,
yes,
spoilers, she pops up in front of. She pops up in front of the puppet, right? In front of what's his name? Damn it.
Yoda?
Yoda. In front of Yoda.
God.
In front of the Yoda puppet, right? And says, we have to talk. Okay, so now Yoda and the other guy know that something happened now, and they know the real story, and yet they're both looking in, a couple of in the movie, they're both sitting there going, oh, what is this? There's Sith all of a sudden after 1,000 years. Like when you're
who said that? Who said anything about Sith? Vernestra blames the shit on Soul.
She said she's
doing so because the senator.
I would assume that she told
already
them,
said you Jedi.
I would assume she told them. Never mind.
No, but what's bothering me about the ending is I would assume Yoda would be able to tell she's lying.
Right.
Like,
because again, if he doesn't know that she's lying, then they've impugned his master.
And this is what pisses me off the most about the ending is that Yoda should be able to tell she's lying, or at least she's uneasy with what she's saying to him, and then he would be questioning her. But I think he should be able to tell she's lying, which means Yoda's in on it.
He should have been able to tell that there were Jedi dying.
You are now besmirching Yoda by involving him in the end of this show.
He should have known that he should have felt that those Jedi were dying when they were dying. Like he should have felt that.
An interesting point. That I will say that I will agree, and we don't know though. So fade to black. I'm not going to judge something I didn't see because she goes up to Yoda. And we don't have any proof that he doesn't. Okay. But you're correct. Like, I agree. This could potentially put Yoda in a bad light. I guess that's something I don't personally have a problem with because Yoda pretty much already knew that Anakin was going to turn and didn't do nothing about it. So Yoda is not like squeaky clean to me in my eyes. So I don't have a counterpoint to that, and I don't have a problem with that. But I'm just not
besmirch the name of Yoda.
Hey, listen, and I know, and listen, that's what's happening here with Star Wars. Is there are characters that people have in their head are a certain way, and Disney is coming in and adding context to certain characters, certain events, and they are changing somewhat. I mean, look at Boba Fett. Boba Fett in Legends he established the new Mandalorians and became Mandalore. Now in Disney, he's the king of Tatooine and chilling in Jabba's old place. So and now Din Djarin is basically the Mandalorian.
I'm not saying
I get that part of it.
All right, how about that? I'm not picking on you, but
no, pick on me, John. I love you, buddy. Don't worry about it. You can pick on me. Listen, just to say,
I don't want to pick on you, but
I will pick on you guys, but no one else better. Okay, you understand what that?
Okay, fair enough. Who was the protagonist of this whole show?
Who the fuck knows? I mean, really?
Exactly.
I don't care. This is the whole story, and I guess we're talking about Acolyte episode 8 because we're already talking about the Yoda.
Yeah.
This is basically showing how Darth Plagueis came to the knowledge of how to make Anakin. That's all it really is at this point.
I thought he didn't make Anakin. I thought Anakin was the Force.
We don't actually know yet. That is kind of an assumption of mine.
God forbid that
this is where this is like the
I mean, if you listen to what Palpatine says in Revenge of the Sith. I think it's Revenge of the Sith. Like, he basically says Plagueis the Wise learned how to create life from the Force and taught it to his apprentice, and then his apprentice killed him. He says all of that, which is inferring that actually Palpatine created Anakin.
It could because, and understand this. This is really kind of mind blowing if you don't know this. Plagueis lived up until Palpatine became the Supreme Chancellor, and him and Plagueis were like celebrating that. Palpatine like got Plagueis drunk, and then fucking he was talking shit and then Force lightning and fucking fried his ass. Anywho, I mean that's crazy to think of though. Like Plagueis was alive during Episode 1. Talk about age, but that's canon.
Drew says shit, the stranger isn't Sith. He's a fallen Jedi.
That would.
I agree. I agree.
What is it? The orange saber guys, right?
He says
the dark Jedi.
I don't know. He says that he says the word Sith though. Like I don't.
Right.
He says what you people would call a Sith.
Well,
he's got something with Venestra going.
But Headland is saying that they're Sith. Headland is saying that they're Sith. She's just her writing is being coy to be edgy and cool when it's really just dumb.
Thrawn gets it. Yeah.
Plagueis just stumbled upon the virgins because he's like the Forrest Gump of the Sith, always getting into shit. Oh, Thrawn, that's perfect.
It's true. Like Plagueis isn't like your like big badass Sith. Like he really is the type of Sith that just like knows shit and yeah. Here he is on Bendok.
Can we all agree that was a waste of a cameo? Plagueis like peering out of a cave at the end of the show, like it was
a waste of 2 cameos.
I don't know, man. I dug Plagueis it because I think Plagueis is still a big mystery in the Star Wars universe. And when you think of the age of the Star Wars universe, the fact that we still have these characters that are interesting and we don't know a whole lot about, I like that shit. And so I would, just like if I saw some sort of show in a Darth Revan mask, got flashed or something. I like that shit. And I like the fact that we get this little glimpse, but everybody fucking knows, right? Like, we know who that is. The show doesn't even tell you. So honestly, we cannot forthright say that was Plagueis. Like, we just know.
But
go ahead, hate on her. Go ahead, baby.
No, the last person that should have ever introduced Darth Plagueis is Leslie Headland, former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein.
That's unfair, man. That's unfair.
You keep harping on that fact, and
now I can say ruiner of Star Wars canon, but
destroyer of plot.
JR, I mean, it's like, come on.
I gotta wait. I'm sorry, I gotta wait for you to bring those up. But yes. Who shot JR? Was it Plagueis? Was it Palpatine? Was it Kibir?
Oh my god.
All right.
Here, have fun with it, man. That's all.
Here's the other thing too. By the time you get to the end of the series, the thing they said when they presented the idea of this show to people was it's 100 years before the Phantom Menace, because we wanted something that was completely unconnected to the Skywalker saga. I personally feel by the time we get to the end, this is tied into the Skywalker saga, regardless of your feelings, because we all know where this is going. And it's like you said, the Virgins allowed them to create life. Plagueis, you assume, is there to learn this knowledge so then he can create. So it's still tied into the Skywalker saga. Like, sorry. Like, you lied to us again.
Yep. Well, I think we've beaten this, and thank God it's over.
It's not over.
Season 2's coming.
There's people campaigning for season 2 heavy.
I don't. Yeah. That 14% that likes it on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I'm sure that they are.
Okay, John, I love you, man. John, I love you, man, but please in the future, do not reference a review bomb or the critical thinker or drinker. Sorry. Like, please stop. Like, don't associate yourself with
here's
quality,
the thing,
sir.
Here's the thing, and let's be 100% honest. There were plenty of people who watched this. I feel like it still had decent ratings by the end.
We don't know what the ratings were.
No, because they don't release those numbers. But I know a lot of people who did watch the whole thing, us included, and this was like the most talked about thing online the entire time it's been running. So it was social media buzz all over the place for Lucasfilm. And that's what they're
famous.
Those are the things that they're going to look at when they decide whether or not they're going to do a season 2. Not was it good, did people like it or not? Because they don't care. If people are watching and talking about it, that's what they care about. Drew C., I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I liked it making sense of a bunch of stupid prequel stuff. John does not agree with that assessment at all, Drew.
No, I won't. I won't. I won't watch a season 2. Like, I don't feel like there's any reason for me to, because there's nobody to root for, and nothing matters because anything can happen, and
unless season 2 is
nobody cares about plot or canon or anything.
If season 2 is the rise of Plagueis, to being a Sith Lord, then I'll watch it. Then you've got my interest. But if it's more of this junk, like, nah. Maybe Plagueis kills one of the two of them. Maybe he kills Smilo Ren, and then Osha becomes the master and starts training him, and then he turns on Osha and kills her. Then we'll all be happy. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that out loud?
You know what people should watch, and I don't think you have this in our news section, Dave. They should be watching was it My Adventures with Superman, and was it Isekai, Suicide Squad Isekai. You should watch those. Those are worth a watch, most definitely.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Superhero Speak podcast. And don't forget to watch us live every Sunday night right here on this channel.
While you're here, hit the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications so you won't miss out on any of our great upcoming content.
Speaking of content, don't forget to check out our website, superheroespeak.com, where you can find the podcast, links to our social media, merch, comic reviews, and so much more. That's superheroespeak.com.
Thanks for watching, and don't let your cape be caught in the door. See you next time.